everything starts with who you are, with that inner spark. That is what makes you unique. That is what drives you. That's what gives you inspiration. That is what gives you satisfaction. And when you are not doing that, when you're not leaning into that, or you don't know what it is, you will not be satisfied. You'll not be happy in life.
Hi, and welcome to Beyond Empty Nest. I'm your host, Jody Silverman, speaker, mentor, and Chief Dare Officer at Moms Who Dare. Every Thursday, I'll share stories of midlife transformation, happiness tips, and dare you to see the opportunities waiting for you so that you can make this next chapter even better than the last. If you're ready to dare, I'm ready to dare with you. Let's get into today's episode. So, how do I prioritize myself now? I'm really struggling with finding myself again and really what to do with my free time now that the kids aren't here anymore. A big challenge for me is learning to think about myself and what I want in my future, because I've been a mom since 16 and wrapped my whole everything into my kids. So, how do I learn what I want and what I like again? And Jody, figuring out who I am now is really what I want to figure out. These are just a handful of what some of the women who join the Moms Who Dare Facebook group tell me are their biggest challenges during midlife transitions, such as empty nest. And my guest today is someone who is focused on helping women and really just any human being to bring his or her innate greatness into focus. Michael Deere is a therapist, coach, and speaker. Michael focuses on women's empowerment and personal development, including goal creation and implementation, moving past and overcoming fears, and reconnecting with and utilizing your unique spark to drive towards inspired growth. With a firm belief that life shouldn't be taken too seriously, Michael combines his therapeutic background with his experience as a comedy magician to provide entertaining and engaging education, inspiration, and motivation. Michael lives with his wife and what he's pretty sure are 4 kids in Ballard-Kinwood, Pennsylvania, which is right in my backyard. So I look forward to meeting you, Michael, in person one day. Welcome to Beyond Empty Nest.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here.
I love it. When I first was introduced to you and we discovered each other, and I read on your website that you have experience as a comedy magician, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's fun.
Yes, it's a little different. But honestly, I think that that's like a massive piece. Actually, relates exactly to what we were just discussing, right? Those points. It took me a while to lean into that. I was a therapist for a while, but really leaning into that humor as part of my brand, as part of who I am, and expressing that took a while. And I think that's a really important piece, right?
Well, I think so. I think you said it, that a firm belief that life shouldn't be taken too seriously.
Yes.
And, I live that way. I incorporate a lot of fun into my life. It doesn't mean we're not serious, but if we get stuck in taking ourselves way too seriously, then we get stuck.
100%. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's not that you are either serious or not taking it too seriously. You could do both. It's understanding that you could be serious about these certain things and still have a good time and still have fun and still make jokes,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So like what I read in the beginning of this episode, these are real challenges that the women who join my Facebook group share with me. And there are like 100 more that sound just like, just sound just like that. I mean, they want to make friendships. They want to make sure they're not alone. But really the number one thing is they've lost themselves somewhere in their journey of mom to, who they get to be when the kids aren't around.
Yeah.
And connection, I know you believe that connection to ourselves is so important, but why is that connection so important?
Yeah, so it's a great question. First of all, I want to point out that I would never know what that's like. Obviously, I am completely connected to myself and I wouldn't know what it's like. No, the point is that, first of all, understand this is something that everyone struggles with. Everyone deals with it. It's just they may not, put on the show. They may appear like they are completely in touch with themselves and appreciate themselves, and maybe they are a little bit more in tune. But everyone had this journey they had to go on to connect with themselves, and it's a struggle sometimes for a lot of people to express themselves like that. just a quick note to point out, I like to say this, I learned this when I was a therapist, and I kind of have used this with a ton of clients, and that is to say, don't compare your inside to someone else's outside.
I love
You
that.
have no idea. Like people put on a show, oh, they all know what they're doing. They're so confident, they're expressing themselves, they clearly have it. And I'm trying to find myself.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to find themselves.
Oh, yeah. No, no, and I appreciate making that point because during our first conversation, we talked about that.
Yeah,
Both of us got real vulnerable about, figuring out who we were and embracing the
yeah,
gifts that we have, embracing your comedic talent with the magician side of you and me becoming a life coach for moms. And
right.
yeah, so I appreciate you pointing that out. Don't compare
Don't
your
compare your inside
side
to
to
someone else's
someone else's
outside.
outside. And it's
100%.
very easy in today's world with social media. That's the biggest pitfall is it looks like every other, and I'll just talk to our audience of empty nest moms and midlife women. It looks like every other woman has her, shit together and knows who she wants to be and what she wants to do. And it's so not true. So not.
100%. 100%.
So
Actually, in one of my talks, I discussed the idea. I said that like people fall in love with the actors, right? They say I love this actor. He's so great. He's such a. I mean, you don't know this actor. You have no idea who this actor is. They're putting on a mask. They're putting on a face, and you're falling in love with this mask. At
yes.
the end of the day, that's not who they necessarily are. Sorry, excuse me.
That's
We'll
okay.
cut this out from the real thing. No,
I think, what? This is live video
it's
and
real
audio.
life.
We
For
keep it
real
real.
life.
And sometimes a fire truck goes by our house. It's all good.
100%.
It's not good.
And I think that's a big part of it also, right? It's being authentic. There's nothing wrong with that unless I make something wrong with it.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what,
Give yourself some space.
I do share. I share a lot in my group and I share a lot on social media about struggles and challenges because I don't want women following me who think that I don't have struggles and challenges.
Right.
The difference between me and somebody who might feel that way, and I think you would agree, is, I'm doing work. I've learned strategies. I've met people like you. I've heard speakers. I've said yes to attending events that have taught me to become self-aware of why I might be feeling disconnected and maybe the steps I can take to get there. And maybe I'm just a few chapters ahead of somebody right now. My kids are 25 and 29. So I've been where some of these women are. I didn't know who I was and who I wanted to be, so I love how you say that. Don't compare, because everybody has challenges and everybody feels lost. Man, woman, and child, we all feel lost.
100%. Exactly. Every therapist and coach either has or should have a therapist and coach.
Yes.
I mean, they need someone also because they have their own lives. And sure, they may put on this facade of like, I've got it all together. Look,
Yeah.
he has a bookshelf with books behind him. Like it's at the end of the day, we've all got our own things that we're working on, and we have no.
So with that being said, I mean, let's talk about some common ways that we may inadvertently disconnect from ourselves and then move into steps we can take to help rebuild that connection.
Sure. So we can actually start with why it's so important, right? At the end of the day, that connection to self, to me, let's put it this way. Originally, when I kind of got into what I got into when I got into therapy, I was a couples therapist focused on couples counseling. And when I started leaning into coaching as well, which is really where I focus right now, everything starts with who you are, with that inner spark. That is what makes you unique. That is what drives you. That's what gives you inspiration. That is what gives you satisfaction. And when you are not doing that, when you're not leaning into that, or you don't know what it is, you will not be satisfied. You'll not be happy in life. You can be having, and a lot of these people, they point to they look at their life and they can't point to anything that's negative. There are plenty of times where things are just great. Their kids are good. They might financially be okay, whatever it is. At the end of the day, they're still not satisfied because they're not leaning into that inner spark that they have.
Yeah.
It could be they don't know what it is, or it could be they're not expressing it externally and putting it out there. There's a lot of fears around it. There's a lot of, I actually posted today. So check out the post from 3/6. No, okay, whenever this comes out. No, but honestly, one of the things I talk a lot about is authenticity. And I actually mentioned today how we're attracted to people putting themselves out there, to that uniqueness that's being expressed, right? The people that are powerful and handsome and unique. But then so many people try to blend in. They become cookie cutters of the people that are around them, and they try to be the same.
Yeah.
They try to lean into attachment, right? Attachment versus authenticity, right?
Yeah.
Gabor Mate discusses this idea of, and many others as well, right? That the idea of we're always in this paradox of trying to either lean in to attachment to the connections that are around us and be like them and be accepted by them, or to be authentic. And so many of us are afraid of really expressing ourselves, when at the end of the day, that is what makes us special, makes us shine. There's comfort and safety in blending in with the crowd.
But here, and yet, because you're making me, and yet you can be authentic and still be part of that crowd that you want to be part of. You just bring
100%.
your, because now you're bringing your uniqueness. You're bringing
Exactly.
a different, oh my God, not level, a different layer, a different
100%.
layer to whatever that relationship or community is. I mean,
Right.
yeah.
At the end of the day, you're basically bringing the real you to the table as opposed to the fake you to the table. But
Right.
also, when you're putting on a facade and you're not being authentic, or you're not leaning into or connected to who you are, then people are not really connecting to the real you. They're connecting to this fake you that's floating around.
And that's why you become disconnected.
Yeah. So to me, really being disconnected stems from, in my opinion, it's preservation. That's where it stems from. It's whether it's self-preservation, there's dissociation. You have shame and guilt around who you were or what you've done, or things like that. So you try to distance yourself from that by either pretending to be something else. There's just this desire for attachment, right? You want to save yourself. You don't want to feel bad or feel like people don't appreciate your unique spark, and so you pretend to be something else, and you distance yourself from that, and you lose a piece of yourself along the way.
Yeah.
It could be the fact that you've spent time trying to figure yourself out. A lot of people have spent time, and I think this actually ties in a lot with people that have had children, where they'll, before they have kids, they're trying to figure themselves out, or they have their dreams and ambitions. But then as they have kids, we tend to find purpose within those kids, either as a defense, right? I don't know what I want to do in life. Oh, my kids are what matters. And they should matter a lot, but they shouldn't replace who you are. And so we'll wake up afterwards, and the kids will be out of the home, or even along the way, and they'll be like, but who am I? Outside of my children, outside of my relationships, who am I? And the more we practice that, the more we practice sacrificing ourselves or putting other people first, even if it's coming from a good place, right? It could be that I care a lot about my partner, or I care a lot about my kids, and I'm doing it because I want them to have an amazing life. But at the end of the day, if you cut yourself out of the equation over and over and over again, then you lose that piece of yourself slowly but surely. And so it's a lot harder to find that time to reconnect to that afterwards.
I love that. Something you said, though, resonates in a big way, that yes, our kids should matter. And you said, but it shouldn't replace what matters to you and your dreams and what you want and who you are. It shouldn't replace it. But it does happen. It happens more times than not that we get lost. Yes. I always had work outside of the home.
Right.
And I still found myself feeling like, well, this isn't what I want to do the rest of my life. It didn't feel like me. It didn't feel fulfilling. So whether you decide to work full time at home with your kids, that's what I call stay-at-home mom. She's working full time.
Yeah.
Or whether you've done, outside of the house and the mom, it's important. They matter, but don't lose yourself, because the connections. It's
100%. It's like it's a lot. Some people think like, oh, I should know about it. Sometimes it's conscious, and sometimes it's like subconscious. You don't even realize. Like, you got to this place, and you're like, I don't know how I ended up here. But the point is, like, our psyche, like, we want to protect ourselves, whether we realize it or not. We are on the defensive. We want to feel good about ourselves, and we'll find reasons to avoid feeling negative. So if we are confused or lost, or we don't know who we are at a younger stage, we'll find other things to fill ourselves with purpose that are kind of like a Band-Aid. We never actually got the answer to who we are. And so when that Band-Aid is removed, we're like, wait, so now what? What do I do now?
That is a perfect analogy, a total visual of what happened. And it does. And I'm sure it happens to dads as well. They're not immune to it. I don't think they talk about it as much as women.
100%. But I just want to quickly touch on that, because I think that, again, I want to mention that point, because it's important to emphasize, is I think this concept happens to a ton of people, men, women, all ages. But I think that's the biggest point, is to realize, like, give yourself some peace in that. Understand that like this is normal. It's not like I'm sitting here alone in this. And I think that's where your community comes in a tremendous way, is understanding that there's a ton of people who are dealing with this. And it's more like there are tons of people who are just not saying anything, and there's tons of people that are saying things. But at the end of the day, it's having that community and giving yourself some, a pat on your back and some reassurance that things are okay. Just the fact that I'm going through this does not mean that things are horrible and bad, and that's a bad way to be unique. To feel like
Yeah.
you're unique and I have things horrible.
Right.
Every-
No, I love that. The permission to, give yourself a little grace.
Mhm.
And I'm definitely there. I say it all the time. We are all so much more alike than we are different. Some of us don't talk about it. Some of us are scared for whatever reason, shame or just like doubt or whatever, or fear. Um, and yet nobody is immune from uncertainty. Nobody
100%.
is immune from looking in the mirror saying, who am I really, like? What am I doing? What do I want to do? What did I used to like doing? So
Right.
that's why a connection is, it's so, and I love how you say it's so important. It's start with you, because it has to start with you. It doesn't start with
100%.
anybody else, because your life is all about you.
100%.
And I want to say this to the moms too, your kids are watching you. Because so you can the greatest gift we can ever give our kids is to be authentic and vulnerable with them, and let them know it's okay if they know at a certain age you're a little lost, obviously age appropriate. I
Right.
mean, my kids watched me embark on a brand new business. They were both in high school. They were older in high school, and they couldn't believe what I was doing. And two things happened when I got really vulnerable, and I was frustrated and it wasn't working out, and I felt like I was failing.
Right.
And my daughter's like, maybe I should bring some men into your business. She says, but I mean, this was her perspective. And the other thing that happened was when I finally did hit a big milestone,
Uh-huh.
I was home alone and I was like sick as a dog. And I got this alert that I hit this milestone, Michael, and my 16-year-old son came running downstairs and, I'm so proud of you. And he hugged me. It was
Exactly.
like, I'm like, can somebody just take a picture of this?
Exactly. He's hugging me he's intentionally hugging me. It's not me
Right.
hugging him. He's not
Like
hugging
on
me back.
purpose. But yeah. So, okay. So
I think that's a really important point, that idea of you're a role model for your kids. And, some people try to hide any emotion or any fears or any concerns. I personally try to avoid really really showing like fears,
yeah.
because I don't want them to necessarily, like anxiety is not addictive. I'm sorry. It's contagious, right? Anxiety is contagious, depression is contagious, all these things are contagious. So I don't necessarily want to display it full on, but for them to see resilience, for them to see overcoming challenges, like that's an important thing. If they think that you've got everything made, then what's going to happen? They're going to get older and they're going to be like, I have struggles, but my mother, my father, my whatever it is, they never had struggles. Everything came easy to them.
Right.
And again, it comes back to the idea of don't compare your inside to someone else's outside. The more we understand that they're going through that too, and it's about resilience and pushing through that, that's so important for them to see. Also related to that, it's important to understand that this whole concept of connection to self and taking action, all these things, it's not that it's one or the other. It's a spectrum. And you're always on a spectrum, not that spectrum, a different spectrum. You're always on a spectrum of this. And so even the people who are like, oh, I am in tune with myself, I'm in touch with myself, and I express myself authentically, like they're still on the spectrum. They still have times where they don't. They still have times where they're struggling with it. You're always somewhere along there. It's always a choice that you have to go on.
Well, and with growth comes sometimes disconnecting, because with growth comes fear. With growth can come anxiety and uncertainty. It's like, what do they say? New level, new devil.
Right.
New devil.
100%. 100%.
So, it's just the difference is learning the tips and the strategies that you help your clients through your practice learn to bounce back just a little bit quicker each time, to be more self-aware. So we know, oh God, okay, it's happening again. Why might this be happening? And so it's that resilience to bounce back. I tell people all the time, we're not talking about toxic positivity when we talk about personal growth and feeling good. And we're talking about learning, growing, creating self-awareness, so that when we get hit with feeling disconnected from ourselves, feeling on the wrong path, we can pause, stop, and bring ourselves back, or at least reach out to those who can help bring us back.
Yeah. Another thing is also you can use it as a reframe moment, meaning instead of viewing it as a negative thing, you could say, this is an opportunity. If I'm feeling uncomfortable, I think that disconnection, this means that it's an opportunity for me to choose to reconnect. Like,
Yeah.
the idea of, let's say, like you said, new level, new devil, right? That idea of, I guess, viewing it as growing pains. The fact that when you're experiencing sometimes these feelings, it doesn't mean it's a negative. It means it's a positive. It's a chance
Yeah.
for you to step out and then lean into that,
Yeah. And I'll tell you, full disclosure, full authenticity here, full honesty. So this episode, people are listening to it. It's mid-May right now, but you and I are talking and it's early March.
Right.
And I literally just went through what you just said, what we're talking about 4 days ago. For the last
Wow.
4 days, I found myself spiraling with an old belief coming up, feeling very uncertain, disconnected to where I really thought I wanted to go. And it was because new level, new devil. I was getting ready to
Right.
what I call dare to do something to take what my dream, my goal to the next level. And then that's my way. That's that fear inside of us that's here to protect us from what we don't need protecting from.
Exactly.
What was that? That
Exactly.
was my old friend coming in to say, are you sure you want to do this? And I had to, but I was able to pull myself out of it and really figure out this time. Yeah, no, I'm doing this, and I am not going to sabotage myself again.
Uh-huh.
So that's what connecting. That's what understanding yourself. When you say connecting back to who you are, that's going back to the beginning of the conversation. That's understanding why you feel what you feel and and being okay with feeling the way you feel. Like it's
Right.
okay that I feel lost and confused and sad and my kids are gone and now I get to focus on me, and just acknowledging it's okay is really the first step.
Right. And being okay with it too, also. Those emotions aren't, again, like we said before, it's not one or the other. You could
No.
have excitement and nervousness and pain and, those
Yep.
those can all be existing at the same time. And it's not that because you are experiencing these negative things, therefore things are negative.
Right.
It's you're experiencing these negative things, but that's just one emotion that could be going on.
Yep. So okay. So let's give our audience, as we're nearing the end of this episode, maybe a 1 to 3 concrete steps, tips,
Wait, did you say? I
steps.
thought this was a 6 to 8 hour
Yeah.
episode. Is that what you said?
We're gonna have you back. We have so much to
Exactly.
talk about.
We got
Absolutely.
some callers. Any callers?
Oh my God. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a live show and have
There we go.
doing that. Michael, we're doing that. We're gonna dare to do that. We'll
Caller number one, you are on the line with.
Yeah, with Michael and Jody. The
Yes.
Jody and Michael show. Okay, we're gonna do this. Oh no, you can't say something like that to me.
I said I set it up and now I'm in trouble.
I'm the chief dare officer here, and we're gonna dare to do this. Okay, but yes. So let's
steps.
give them some steps that they can take
Yes.
to start for those that really don't know where to begin to help rebuild the connection to themselves, to trust themselves again, to
Yeah.
figure out what their purpose is.
Yeah, I was gonna say this as a joke, but now I'm kind of leaning into it a little bit. In my mind, it was, the phrase "just do it." You know,
Yeah.
I think that honestly, just to start, I think that that's a massive important thing. We like to wait till things are good, till we have everything organized, till we know. Um, I think that when you're on the process of trying to connect to yourself, a large part of it is just allowing yourself to do things. We try to hold ourselves back. Like, is this the right thing? Is this the wrong thing? Sometimes it's just leaning into your intuition, leaning into your feelings. But on a broader scale, I guess working our way backwards, I think that there's basically connection to self is, in my opinion, made up of 3 things.
Okay.
It's made up of knowing yourself. It's made up of appreciating yourself, loving yourself, and it's made up of expressing yourself. And so you need to know who you are. You need to appreciate who you are in that moment without judgment, without being upset with where you are and what you're going through, just allowing, and then expressing yourself authentically. And again, it's not that you work through one and then the other. It's not, okay, first I have to completely know myself, because again, this is all a spectrum. You're always in this process, no matter where you are. And, you have to know yourself to some degree. You have to appreciate yourself, and you have to express yourself. I think these are all points that are important to cover. So knowing yourself, in my opinion, that comes from having the space, taking space for yourself. Find something that you enjoy doing. That's a great way to do it. And it could be going for a walk. It could be swimming. It could be sitting by the beach. It could be meditation. sometimes people, you say find something you enjoy. Some people find something that they use as an avoidance technique or a distraction. We're not looking for that. There's a time and place for that, but we're not doing competitive sports or video games or watching TV. That's a way to avoid thinking. We want to allow thought to come in without forcing it.
Okay.
And so taking time for yourself, whether it's, scheduling that in, could be going for a walk in nature, spending 15 minutes just sitting there, meditation, relaxing, and just allowing your mind to wander. Being in tune with your thoughts, your emotions, what your body's feeling, body sensations. And again, we said just do it. This is all a process. And so you start off small. It could be in the beginning that you don't know anything about it. You can't even be in touch with any aspect. You don't even know your own thoughts. Could be. Start off slow. It could just be, what am I feeling right now? What are the emotions? It's a muscle that we have to get used to building.
Yeah.
And if it's been so long that we haven't built it, it takes time for us to rebuild that muscle so it gets stronger. And the more time we spend allowing ourselves to be in tune with ourselves, the more in tune with ourselves we get. We build that muscle. And I want to express also the idea of baby steps, because again, and this is true with every aspect, whether it's knowing yourself, appreciating yourself, or expressing yourself. Start off with baby steps. Do what you can. Dare to do what you can, because it takes effort. This is something that's uncomfortable. Again, we said before, the whole cause for disconnection is we have created distance from who we are, from our inner spark, from from ourselves. And so it takes time to get comfortable reconnecting to ourselves. As far as appreciating yourself, a lot of it is, first, again, accepting where you are. It's just acceptance, without judgment, without labeling. Give yourself that space. Be mindful of the negative talk that you're having. And again, you don't expect yourself to just wake up and be like, okay, I'm not going to be negative and I'm just going to accept where I am. How do you do that? You have to practice. You have to build that muscle. Yep. You can't be like, I was negative all this time. Now I'm going to just accept, and a lot of people in the personal development space, coaches, therapists, they make it seem so easy.
Yes. And one simple affirmation is not going to change your whole mindset in your life.
Right.
That's not
I've been saying it for 4 days already, and I don't feel any different.
That's not how they work. You have to, you have to move into belief.
Right. Yeah. Gratitudes, finding ways to be grateful, whether it's something small, something big. But again, don't expect those massive things, massive shifts to come just because you started. Yeah. It takes time. And again, give yourself that space. Reassure and remind yourself that it's okay, and that this is what people go through. It's not you on this journey alone. And while on that subject, there's one piece that is true for all three of these, right? The knowing, the accepting, and the expressing. And that is, find your community. I was going to wait till the end to say it, but that is something that is at the core of everything. Having that support, having that meaningful connection. I just recently heard someone speak on the concept of networking and connections. And the truth is that really that's at the root of so much of our development, so much of our support. We like to think that we just can rely on ourselves, but it doesn't need to be a lot of people. People are like, I don't have all my friends. Start getting out there. Yeah. There are people there, and you have to dare to put yourself out there. It's not easy. Nope, especially when you're so used to, again, I'm a parent. I have 4 kids, I think, right? We discussed that, right? 10, 8, 6, and 3. And so there's a lot of time where I'm stuck at home. Like, you have kids, you're not getting out there. You're not making friends. You're not hanging out with all your, group of friends. Sometimes you are, but a lot of people are not. And it's easy to feel alone, especially when you don't have that thing filling the void, when the kids aren't there or something else is going on. It takes, getting out there. When you were a kid, you felt, okay, do you want to be my best friend?
Yeah, right. See how easy it was to do that, and everybody said yes.
100%. There's a lot we could learn from kids, and part of that authenticity is being okay with going out and talking. I wouldn't necessarily say it that way. Would you be my best friend?
No, I wouldn't do that this soon.
Exactly. I saw you at the
jungle
gym.
Might run away at this stage of our life. They might just look at you and be like, and run away and bring over the group.
100%. But at the same time, they're also kind of wishing they had the guts to do that too.
Exactly. It's funny. All right. So we have the knowing, we have the appreciation, and now the expressing.
Right. Expressing yourself. And so to me, there's basically 2 pieces here. And that is kind of when you already know who you are and you appreciate who you are, you get to the core of, your desires, what you enjoy, what you like, what you value about yourself, what you want to be doing in the world. And does not people, what are your massive goals? Massive goals could be small goals to someone else.
Yep.
Everyone else has different goals. And for some people, their goal is getting out of bed and getting out in the sun. That could be a massive goal for some people. And for other people, it's like, get out in the sun, stop wasting your life, go accomplish, and it's like, no, everyone is different. That's the whole point, right? We all have our unique spark.
Yeah.
And because of that, we all have different things that are driving us and different goals and different abilities, different achievements. And, it's we're in tune with ourselves. And when we're in tune with ourselves, it's, okay, let's create goals in line with our desires and what we want to achieve.
Yeah.
And once you have that, you take the steps towards action. And again, this comes back to, first of all, the baby steps piece.
Yeah.
Again, giving yourself that freedom to not, it's okay not to just jump in,
Right.
you have this idea.
Right.
But aside from just jumping in, you also have to just do it. You have to dare. And so there's a book by Susan Jeffers, there's one line, it's feel the fear and do it anyways. But she has a great picture, whatever, a graph, whatever it is, showing where it's discussing the idea of getting out of your comfort zone.
Okay.
And daring to get your comfort zone. And it shows how if you take one small action, you start over here as a comfort zone. And if every day you do something that's outside your comfort zone, it doesn't have to be massive, but something out of your comfort zone, it gets bigger and bigger. And by the end of a year, you're over here. Right? This is your comfort zone as opposed to this. And a lot of people wait for their comfort zone to come, for something to test their comfort zone to come to them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and then I'll step up. No.
You can find it yourself.
Find something. It doesn't need to be big. It could be saying hi to somebody in line in front of you. It could be going to a group.
Speaking my language now.
Before, though.
No, oh God, stop it.
Finally, speaking my language.
I'm telling you, we could have a Jody and Michael thing going on here.
There you go.
I have something called Jody's Soapbox. You would love
no
that.
No way. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, we'll talk later. But okay, so Michael, I know I did interrupt you, but we have to wrap this up. You did so many good nuggets, but you know what you just did? You just ended with the dare for the show. Because no guest leaves here without the dare.
Yeah.
And you really did bring a full circle to what this show is all about, which is stepping out of your comfort zone, trying something new to reconnect to your authentic self and the things that matter most to you and the people that matter most to you and finding those people. So I'm going to let you phrase it, but you have to dare the audience to do something, because I know what I would, but this is your dare for the audience.
Dare. So I don't know the rules about the daring situation.
There's no rules.
Oh, nice. Okay, I dare. No, you guys, you don't know what you're in for now. No. I would tell you this. One thing with Susan Jeffers, and there was a quote that she said, but I'll just phrase it my way, which is, dare yourself to do something every day that sets you outside your comfort zone. Again, small. It could be you're buying something that you wouldn't normally buy. It could be saying hi to somebody. But I think daring to dare, dare to dare, and make that a daily routine. A large part of what holds us back with stepping outside our comfort zone is we think that fear and discomfort is a bad thing.
No, it's a good thing.
It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Your body's not used to doing that. We're used to being afraid of something and therefore avoiding it. Yeah. But the more we understand that when there's something that we're afraid of is not a bad thing, it's something that we could easily go push through, the more we have resilience, the more we trust in ourselves to accomplish.
Yep. I love it. So dare yourself to do something new every day. And it could be as little as holding the door open for a stranger, smiling at everybody you see, little baby steps. And you said Susan Jeffers is
Susan Jeffers.
Jeffers. I will tell you. And I will also add to that list Susan Jeffers and Luann Kahn.
Yeah, you mentioned
Luann Kahn, she did I Dare Me, and she's a guest on our podcast too. So both of them, they know what they're doing because it does work, and it was Luann Kahn's daring journey of doing something new every single day that inspired me to create Moms Who Dare.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what you stand for. I think it's exactly what you stand for. It's the idea of understanding that fear is not a bad thing. It's break that mold. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And when you embark on this dare that you're giving them, dare to do something just different and new every day. And it can be simple. And if you need ideas, grab Susan Jeffers' book, grab Luann's Kahn's book,
100%.
email Michael, email me. I'll give you a list of at
Please,
least I have a 30-day of daring. But when you do that, you will not only start the process of reconnecting to yourself, you'll start connecting with others
100%.
by default. So I love this conversation. You provided so many good nuggets. People listening, you're going to have to rewind this. So again, and trust me when I tell you that you will be hearing from Michael Deere again.
Thank you.
Well, because I have had so many ideas floating. I had to stay focused on our conversation because all these ideas that you put in my head. And I have that brain.
The 6 to 8 hour one will be coming next. And then
there you go. There you go. So, all right. So you're going to dare, and everything you need to know about Michael's in our show notes below, how to connect with him, how to contact him. He's doing great work in this space, and we will provide you with links on everything. And, look, the mission and the goal of this show is that you, our audience, leave here with at least one tip, strategy, or aha, mind-blowing moment that unlocks it all from you. And I know that there was more than one in here, but what was the one thing that you heard today that you went, and you gasped and you were like, that's it. Because you heard it a different way. Share it with me. Leave us a review. Apple Podcasts lets you type in a review, Google reviews, or just shoot me an email. I'll make sure Michael gets whatever amazing comment you want to share. I will make sure to forward it to Michael.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And thank you so much for being part of the show. And all kidding aside, we're bringing you back. We're going to do more.
Thank you,
we're going to bring you back inside the Moms Who Dare Facebook group. So if you're not in the Facebook group, ladies, you want to join us there now. And don't forget, there's another episode of Beyond Empty Nest next Thursday. And as I always say, dare on. Thank you for listening to this episode of Beyond Empty Nest. Have you heard of the Double Dares? Well, we're a community of moms and midlife women blending virtual and in-person interactions for connection, support, and exciting experiences. And as we navigate the empty nest and other midlife transitions, having that go-to safe space and other women to lean on is a must. Ladies, this is not the chapter to do it alone. If you've been seeking connection and have a desire to figure out who you are and what your purpose is now, then Moms Who Double Dare is the perfect fit for you. Only through the link in our show notes below can you explore and enjoy the first month at half off. Plus, with no contracts, there's zero risk involved. Join us today and get started on your journey of self-discovery, surrounded by new friends who understand and get you. If you're ready to dare on, I'm here to lead the way. Let's embark on this exciting journey together. Click the link below, and as I always say, dare on.